All right, everybody, welcome back for week 10, module 8, chapter 8. This week, I want you to make sure that you do the chapter video first. We've been using Node since chapter 3, but just kind of to start the server and be able to work on our project. Some of you may have not even done that at all, but this chapter is Node, and they'll go a little more in depth about how to create that server, and then where to put requests and responses on the server and the client. It's a very simple project. I've been racking my brain on trying to how to figure out how to make that more useful and kind of elaborate on it, but I think I'm gonna go a little different direction. We're still going to use the Express server, but I'm going to show you how to make some calls to an API and populate that into your web page. Same assignments for the week: self-test, programming project, which we're going to do right now, and the quiz. So we are going to create a little weather app using this openweathermap.org's API. If you go to the website and then click on API, scroll down a little bit, you'll see this current weather data. This is the API we want to use, and there's a lot of them. I encourage you to go ahead and sign up. You can use a throwaway email if you want to, or whatever. You will have to verify your email address, but then you can use this stuff for free to an extent. If you don't put in a credit card, then they can't charge you. They have some fancy stuff that you can pay for, or this free stuff that we're going to use. So if you go to the API documents, and then over on the right, click built-in API request by city name. This is what we're going to do right here, and this is a URL that we're going to put into some code to send a request to them, and they'll send us information back. And when we get our information back, it looks like this. It's a JSON file. You probably can't read that, but it contains latitude and longitude of the city, the sky conditions when it's clear or cloudy or foggy, temperature, what it feels like, the pressure, humidity, visibility, wind speed, sunrise, sunset times, all kinds of stuff, and it's really great. So this is a really cool app to use if you ever need the weather or something else. And this is what the app should look like in the end. I have not got this running, I don't think. There we go. Let me refresh this, resend, and now I can't post. I messed up my, I'll save all. I'll refresh yet again, and okay. Now we can put in city. Oh, I already did London. It's 54 degrees, and it's 93% humidity. I think it's going to rain in London. But in Kinston, it is 71 degrees, 35% humidity. And I'm assuming that's Kinston, US. In fact, I look here. Yep, Kinston, US. I don't know how many Kinstons there are because it doesn't say whether it's in North Carolina or not, because I'm trying not to get too far into the weeds. Anyway, this is what the app will look like in the end. So let's jump into that. Let me open up Visual Studio. Chapter 10, lesson. Get all that. I think I just messed up. Nope, that's weather app. Okay, good. So open a local folder. Goodness gracious, I gotta click around so much. Apologize for slowing down the video. All right, here we go. Blank folder. So let me zoom in so you can see what we're doing. And just like in the video told you, and like we've done in the past, I know we did a lot of copying and pasting over the same files, but this is how you use Node to get everything, all the dependencies and all the stuff that you need. So the first thing we do is do npm init. And then we just, in this case, we're just going to accept all the defaults. And tell it, yes, that's great. And then it'll give us back our thing. And then we need to, in this case, we need to install a few things. You can just do npm I. We're going to use Express. We are going to use EJS, and EJS files are enhanced JavaScript files. They're better than HTML files for presenting data that's dynamic. And with Web 3.0 coming, HTML will be maybe a thing in the past. So I don't know, HTML5 is pretty good, but EJS files are another way to do things. How about that? And then we need request, which is a package that helps us send and receive HTTP requests. So npm I express EJS and request is going to install all these dependencies into our JSON file. And if I open this right here, you can't see that either. If I just opened that packages.json, you can see before it stops, okay, it just changed right before your eyes. It wrote these dependencies in here. So now we have all of those and we can do it. We can do the thing. And that's all you need, your packages.json. And now you should also have the package lock JSON file in there. So if you look at it again, if you look at your package.json, it's the main is your index.js. Now you can change that, and we have been using server.js thus far. I'm just going to leave it as index.js, but that's the main file that's going to do stuff. So you need that file. I'm going to add a new file in here, index.js. Also, one thing that this EJS requires is that there is a folder. Oh, no, well, there's a folder named view in the main folder, or view or views. And that inside that is going to be your, it would be your index.html, your main page, your landing page. And since this only has one page, it's the one page. So we have those files, and the last thing that we need is a CSS. And I'm gonna again put that in a CSS folder like we normally do, just to keep things kind of the same. All right, so your index.js, not EJS, but JS. This is going to look a lot like the server.js that you had in the video. And in fact, most of the stuff is pretty much the same to start. We have to do our require stuff. Oops. We want to start the server, designate a server to use Express. We want a variable for the port. We're going to tell the server to use the folder directories, just like in the other video. The encoding, instead of using the body parser, we're just going to use express URL encoded. And it's extended, it's going to be false. Oop, what did I just do? Dang it. Is that right? No, okay, that's what it's here. Save that. Make sure this line turns green so I don't have any errors here. Then we need to tell it to listen. This may be something that you hadn't seen before, but it's just kind of a function inside the listen, or when it listens, it's going to tell you something. And it should say the server's listening on port 8080. Now this should, and it probably won't, if I save it all, save all, go down here, and if you need space on your screen, oh, first off, you may be wondering, what is this thing down at the bottom? Because I haven't used this yet. Tools, view, where is it? View, terminal. Okay, so terminal. Back out real quick. If you go to view at the top and then go to terminal, that's not right. It's my PowerShell, it's still there. Yeah, okay, I was right. View terminal. Then you'll get this little thing popped up, and on Windows it's PowerShell. On Mac it should be called terminal. I'm not sure, I don't have a Mac, but that's this, and that's where I'm putting all this stuff in. Sorry if you have to go back. Where was I? Now if we do node index.js, it's throwing an error. All right, I had my the other project running on that same port, so I was getting an error saying that that port is already in use. So I changed the port to 4000, and if I run node index.js, it tells me that the server's listening, so there'll be a server up and running and listening. Now, throughout this project, when something isn't working or testing, you have to stop the server, save the file. Every time you change the server file, the index.js, you have to stop the server, save the file, or save the file, stop the server, and then start the server again for those changes to take effect, which is a real pain. So a shortcut for that is Control and C. And when you see that line, the server's no longer running. And then if you just hit the up arrow, you get the last command that you typed. So you do that again, and the server's listening. Control C, and it's not. There are plugins like NodeMon that will just monitor every time there's a change and you saved it, it'll restart that server. But I didn't want to put too much stuff in here that you have not seen before. So back to the project. We need to set the view engine. And that's going to be the EJS add-ons, plugins, whatever you want to call them. And then we need to create a get request, which is going to go to the root, and it's going to have a request and response. And you may not have seen it done like this before, but this is an easier way to just kind of put in the function. We're going to render that index.ejs file. render it, set it up so that the person can view it. And we are, the first time that we open the web page, we want to send it to variables, weather and error. And they're both going to be null. So the first time that the page starts out, they will both be null. So it won't have anything shown. Let me go ahead and put this down a little bit because we don't need that right in a second. And then we want to do a post. Post. Yeah, is that right? No. My goodness gracious. Again, it's kind of the same thing. And then in the post, we need a couple of variables. The city is going to be equal to the request body city. Now, this line is important to understand. The request, the requesting document, the body of the requesting document, and the thing with the ID of city. So if you go to your EJS, and we haven't done that yet at all. Let's go ahead and start this EJS file. That is it's an HTML page. In fact, the head of the whole thing is very similar to every HTML that we've done so far. You've got your doc type, HTML head, your title, which is weather app. The only CSS we're using here is that weather app.css file. The only JavaScript we're going to use is this JavaScript file, index.javascript. We set the width and the char set to the same thing that we always do. And then we're going to have a body. And then we're going to end the body. And HTML. The only problem I have with these EJS files is that my Visual Studio doesn't recognize them as HTML files, so I don't get the colors and I don't get the auto-completes. I'm sure there's a setting in here somewhere, but I haven't been able to find it, and I haven't put too much time and effort into it. So on this HTML page, it's going to be really small, short, but I'm going to use my wrapper like I always do. And inside the wrapper, I'm going to have a field set and a form that goes to that root, and a method equals post. Actually, I'm trying to end my stuff when I type it out because I keep forgetting to, and it's not doing it for me. So field set, form, div, okay, all opened, all closed. Inside the form, we're just going to have two inputs. One is going to be a text input, and this is where you're going to type your city name. So we'll give this the name of city, and this is where that is going to be the body from the city element in the body of the requesting document. That's where this variable is going to come from, and we're calling it city. It's city here and it's city there. I don't like giving variables the same name because even though they have the same value, it gets confusing. Or maybe you like that better. I don't know. Either way, that's where it's coming from, just so you know. Enter city name. And that is our first input. And the second one's just going to be a button. And if you didn't know, you can make a button in import type of submit instead of button. I don't know what's better. do it this way, do it that way. In fact, if you look up the how to make a weather app, Node and Express and all that, you will find a billion videos, usually in another language, but every one of them does it differently. So that's that. So this is your HTML page. We'll add 2 more things on here in a little bit, but this is basically it. So back to JavaScript. We need that to get that city variable so that we can add that to the API call. If you remember, I can find it. The openweather.app requires a city name and an API key. If you go and sign in, you can get API keys. They'll give you one for free, and you just run stuff. You can copy mine down from the video if you feel like doing that. Either way. So that's why we need that, and we also need the variable URL. And that's going to be our API call to these guys. So I'm just going to copy this out here, Control C, and paste it into this URL. Now this isn't quite correct because we have to make this city name change every time somebody puts a new city name into the text box. So we are going to put some quotes here, and we're going to add that city variable. Get rid of this here. So we got half the request, and then we're going to append the city variable that we pull from the other page, and then we are going to add the API key. Now, you know what? I will just, for simplicity, my API key, Control C and Control V right here. So it's always the same, it doesn't change, and I don't need to make it a variable. Same with this this variable here. I can probably get rid of that. That's not going to change, and just put 4,000 right here. Save all, and let's just see if that works. I have an extra something somewhere. Line 24. It's not extra. It belongs there. There is a missing parentheses somewhere. There's probably quite a few of them. Yeah, that's it. Okay, now file, save all, node, going down here, node index.js, server's listening. Okay, so now if I go here and instead of 8080 I go to 4,000, which is our current project, this is what I should have. You should have your HTML, make this smaller. You should have your HTML or your EJS index.ejs displaying right here, and this is your text input and your get weather. It doesn't do anything. The get function is not yet written, but you know it displays, the server works, the HTML works. That's great. So back into this, and I'll throw this down here. Got our API key. Oh, we need to specify in this query that we want imperial units to I hope you can read all that, but it's basically the API call, and then after city we put the &sign units as imperial, and then the &sign app ID, so that we get back Fahrenheit and not Celsius. Excuse me, I'm sorry. All right, so after the API key, we are going to request URL function in case there's an error, and body. We need that body. If there's an error, we need to render the web page with something that tells everybody that there was an error. CLDENT couldn't I don't know how to spell. Couldn't get the weather, I don't know, good enough. If there was no error, variable weather is going to be equal to the parsing of the body that we get back. So this is not referring to the body of the document like the other one, the request was. This is the parsing of the body of the stuff we get back. And it should look like this, what you get back. And we can log that in the console to make sure this is what you're getting back with each call. Oh, I'm so sorry. But if the weather main is undefined, we gotta do something else. Oh, I gotta add a little thing here. And I apologize for all this punctuation because I know that that is going to be a source of contention. It always is for me. But this is how it is done. And EJS has some different requirements. But this is good to know. And it's still JavaScript. And there's a billion types of JavaScript, you know, Angular and all this other stuff. They do things just a little bit different, but it's still all JavaScript. So if you say, oh, I know JavaScript, you're going to be like, oh, well, you know Angular, you know, oh man, I can't think of any other names right now. But anyway, there's a billion of them out there. And they're all JavaScript. They just do things slightly differently. Anyway, if that all works, then this is where we will put out the weather. So we've taken the response, the body of the response, we've parsed it out, parsed out that JSON file and put it in a variable. Excuse me again. And we are going to put that variable out to the console so we can see what we're working with here. And let's see if this works. Save all. Now remember, once you save your stuff and you look in the console, the server's still listening. So you have to Control-C, shut that thing off. And I think I already saved it. Let me save it again, save all, and then up arrow for your last command, hit it. Server's listening, and then go back to your HTML weather app and refresh. And wants to do nothing because we haven't told it to do anything yet. But if you look in here, oh, okay, I gotta click the button, I think. Get weather. Nope. It should be logging that in the console, I'm fairly certain. But let's do something else real quick. We'll go back to our EJS file, index EJS, and where we want to put this stuff. You have to do with EJS. You have to bring in variables a little differently. It's weird, and I don't even like it. But under the form, you're going to put this funky little funkiness in there. And this is how you start. This is how you do it. Anyway, if weather is not equal to null, and pay attention to all these quirky little percentage signs because they drive me crazy. I'm going to make a paragraph, and we're going to put in the variable weather. Variable has to be wrapped in those. And if we'll do the same thing if we get an error. So if error, I think it has to be equal. I'm sorry, there needs to be an equal sign in there too. So this is where you will see the returns of the weather variable and the error variable from here if there is an error or if there's no error. So file, save all, make sure to go down to your console, Control C, up arrow, and enter. And then if you refresh, okay, so at least we're getting an error. We know that the variables are passing along there. Let's see if we can do London. No, something's wrong with my getting stuff. Something's wrong. Well, I spelled it wrong, but it's not going to work anyway. Where have I messed up? Stay tuned. Turns out I didn't really mess up. Just before I clicked over, I noticed that in the console here, you can see the return. So we're setting the request, we're getting the return, London. But the reason that it's not yet showing up on the page here is because I hadn't told it to. We haven't told it to do that yet. We just told it to log it in the console, and that's it. So, a couple more lines of code under this console log. Let's create a variable weather, and that corresponds to this variable weather, right? So that's going to actually, no, it doesn't. Excuse me. We're going to create a new variable, weather text. And this is what we're going to type to the screen. The temperature in plus the city they put in is, and then we access the information main.temp. And we can see that is how we do it. If you look down in the console, weather main temp, right? We get this weather, which contains, see the brackets all the way down. Weather main and then temp. And then you can grab like humidity, weather main temp, or feels like, or all that other stuff. And then weather visibility, weather wind, weather clouds, weather sys.id, sys.sunrise. So that's how we get and call these different things in here. So we're calling the temperature, and let's say degrees, I guess. And let's save all. Make sure in your console, Control C, get your cursor back. Make sure you saved all. I think I did, but let me do it again. I'm saving, make sure. Up arrow, index.html. It's listening, even though you can't see it. Server's listening, and then we hop back over into the HTML. Refresh the page. Hopefully it didn't break it. Okay, just saying try again. It shouldn't be there, but I'm not worried about that. London, get the weather. Something's not working. Why is this not working here? This is driving me crazy. The resource failed locks index.js blocked. Oh, at least in the console, it's still working here. You can see it's logging London down here in the cursor in the console after I run it. Not sure why it's not getting back to the web page, but that's frustrating me. Oh, we didn't tell it to render. Goodness gracious. You gotta remember, you gotta tell it your response is to render index EJS. And when you render it, you want to use the weather variable and pass it that weather.text and the error of null so that it knows it's null. I wasn't getting that response back to the web page, which is why it wasn't displaying. Now, save all. Go back to your console. Control C. And then the up arrow. Nope. Node index.js. Hit enter. It should be listening. Go back to your HTML, wherever it may be. I think I closed it. 172.0.0.1. What are we doing? 4,000 on this one? Okay. Now it's not showing that try again, which is nice. And if I put in London, let's do something different. So Houston, Texas. It is hot down there in Houston, Texas. 86 degrees right now. Well, what is it in Kinston? 70 degrees. So it's about 15, 16 degrees hotter in Texas right now. That is crazy. Now, I don't like that there's no space here between the thing and degrees. I thought in the code that I left space there. Nope, I did not. So, space there. File, save all. And if I just go refresh, let's see if that changes anything. It has to resend the information, and it does not change that space. So it's resending the request, but it's not looking back at the server, or the server, which is the index.js. So you have to stop the server and then start the server again for that to take effect. And there you go. It's a little space. That's why I say you got to stop the server, start the server. And again, if you want to look at NodeMon, it monitors, and every time you save it, it restarts it on its own, which is very convenient. So we've got the temperature for all these cities, and that is awesome. If I wanted to go ahead and add with a humidity of, and we would do weather main dot humidity, and it HUMIDIT. Okay, and you can, again, you can see that down in the console or from the other request that, remember, main, it's weather main temp and weather main humidity, and that should get you what you're looking for. With a humidity of blank percent. Yeah, okay. Sounds good. I don't know. Save all. Restart your server. Control C, up arrow. Back into the thingy, refresh, resend. Now we have the temperature in Kinston is 70 degrees with humidity of 35. That is the project for this week. And what I would like you to do, this is boring looking anyway. I mean, this is a pretty cool project. You can do a lot of things with this, but let's make it look cooler. I want you to add something to the CSS and make it your own. And then I want you in the index.javascript, I want you to pick a couple of other things in here, maybe latitude and longitude. You can show us where the latitude and longitude of Kinston or London or whatever is this. You can put clouds, wind speed, I don't care. Just grab 2 or 3 of them and put them in the results and then send that to me in Moodle. I've basically gone through the whole project. It's not too hard to add a few more things. So go ahead and do that. And that's the project for this week. Thank you guys.